welcome to Blog Tornado. How are you? And today we're gonna quickly discuss something that I said regarding UFOs being prototypes that military was working on and not actually authentic UFOs. Okay, I'm not sure if you were following some of my videos that I talk about Bob Lazar Decoded, titled Bob Lazar Decoded, and there's different types of videos with different topics. And well, one of the questions came up regarding UFOs being actual. Why would they be prototypes, and why did I say that? Well, the quantity itself says something about, gives it a clue, and not just that, but the shapes, that they were supposedly 9 different shapes of UFO, kind of supports that, the fact they could have been actual prototypes, and simply because, those kind of experiments are going on at S4, they need to test things in that facility, and that's very typical of this kind of work. And that's why I assume them to be actual prototypes rather than being actual, real, authentic UFOs. So again, why would I think they would be a military experimental crafts, test subjects, test vehicles? So, we have to understand something first before we think that U.S. can simply replicate such technology. Sure, we are capable of doing a lot of things. U.S. is capable of doing a lot of things, but UFO technology is something that is it's pretty much light years away from technology that we have. So we might be looking at something that we don't understand. And why would that be, you might ask? Well, simply anything that can distort time, space, bend light, or contain antimatter, for that fact, it's rather impossible to duplicate or replicate. Although I think U.S. Did have a real UFO possibly in their possession. Like I said, as I mentioned before, they wouldn't be spending and wasting time and money on doing something that that doesn't have any solid source. So in that case, it must have been a real UFO, and that's the only reason why military would be interesting of starting such a project. But however, you can't, first of all, the vehicles supposedly are from Zeta Reticuli, as I talked about in previous video. And if they are from there, the distance from Earth and to Zeta Reticular solar system, supposedly it's 39 light years away. Now, anything that can fly from there to here is going to be highly advanced, if you catch my drift here. This is not Falcon X or any kind of thing that we're working at now. And why? Basically, such civilization, such as these aliens from Zeta Reticuli, they had a head start in evolution, okay, and that explains why they're more advanced. Who knows? They could have been existing way before us, maybe thousands and thousands of years before us. So you understand they're able to have such technology because of such evolution taking place. And for us to skip and just goes directly at that kind of technology, it would be just either way, it's impossible to replicate a UFO. In my opinion, and Bob Lazar's as well, is simply it cannot be replicated, which makes it pretty much useless. and maybe we can get some information from it, and that's why I talk about it. I talk about this, and there's a difference between trying to recreate a UFO and replicate a UFO. Okay, so those 9 UFOs were most likely something U.S. military was trying to recreate, and because you can see for the aerodynamic reasons itself, because they were different shapes. So they just can't replicate such technology 9 times over or whatnot. And like I said, Bob Lazar doesn't mention anything about this being real or not. He just saw them. He just saw 9 UFOs, but he doesn't say whether they were man-made or UFO made, because he wasn't able to interact with those UFOs. But he was in one, which could have been, like he explains, it was an archaeological dig, an ancient UFO, which I highly doubted that's what it was, because on Joe Rogan you can clearly see when he was asked that question, he put his hand towards his head when he was answering that question. It seems like there was some kind of mental block. He didn't want to say something that was just unusual. As you know, we all try to look for some clues, and that could have been some sort of clue that he was hiding something. But the reason, I'll explain to you what he was hiding. It's quite logical to me. As you know, not sure if you're familiar with the Betty and Barny Hill story. One of the first UFO abduction publicized publicly from New Hampshire stories to hit U.S. was Barny and Betty Hill UFO abduction. So what happened there is, through her interview, Betty Hill was under hypnosis, and she drew a star map that represented Zeta Reticuli solar system. And if you followed Bob Lazar's story, he also mentions that he was told that those UFO vehicles were from Zeta Reticuli. And so I don't know how these two connect. Do they know each other, or did they talk to each other? But if they don't know each other, if these two stories are completely two different things, because they happen in different time. So I think Betty and Barny Hill story happened in 1961, and then Bob Lazar later on, around late 1980s, find out about these UFOs. So if they're from Zeta Reticuli, then you have to understand that they have some connection. And then you wonder, the next question would be, how did they get to S4? Now, as I talked about in my previous video, simply, those two stories are connected through something here, okay? And you can see it for yourself. It's basically a channel called IVAN 0135. Okay, it was created in 2011, and it's got supposedly some alien footage. Whether it's authentic, I can't say, or real or not, but see it for yourself, and you will see how those aliens move, and then it might make you think differently if it's authentic or not. And not just that, but they do show some UFO that's been destroyed on the ground. You can see it being on the ground, and it doesn't look like it's in a good shape at all, and you can see there's an alien lying on the ground. That footage could simply be something that landed in Roswell, New Mexico, perhaps, and that got destroyed upon impact, and then was taken later by U.S. military into S4, or they actually shot down the UFO somehow, and that footage just proves that. And I think that possibly that footage is from S4 or Area 51. We don't know, but if that's the case, see, the thing is, as I explained in the previous video, you have to follow then to understand what's going on. These aliens are simply wearing black suits, okay? And under hypnosis of Barny Hill, he talks about how he seen these aliens that wear black uniforms or black shiny suits. So you mustn't see the connection here now from that Ivan channel and comparing to his story. So not just that, but both this channel and also Betty Hill, if you listen to her interview, she mentions Zeta Reticuli. As I told you, I think she even asked them where they're from, and they were showing her a map. Okay, you have to listen to those kind of stories so you understand what I'm talking about. Okay, because mostly what I'm getting here is just information that I got from those documentaries, and I'm trying to piece it together to see. It makes me suspicious that all these two stories, and including this Ivan 0135 channel, talk about Zeta Reticuli. So, then there is some sort of connection here. Whether was it made up, or do these people know each other, or if they don't, then we have a reason to assume that they did come from the solar system of Zeta Reticuli. So, but again, not to forget what I was talking about regarding in the 9 prototypes. So again, there were different shapes and most likely just test flights. Those kind of things are going on at S4 all the time. They will never make one of something there. Okay, they need to test things out before they find out which works best. That's what explains the 9 different shapes. But it doesn't necessarily mean they basically were attempts to make a UFO, and as I explained, they are not, we're not capable of replicating such technology at the moment. And you don't have to listen to me regarding that, but it's just common sense. It's something Bob Lazar mentioned himself. But anything that bends and distorts time, it's highly sophisticated. We don't even have the fuel to actually power up these UFOs that require a tremendous amount of energy to fly if you want to fly speed of light. Not just that, again, it's capable of bending the actual space and time. It has its own gravity, capable of containing antimatter. Like I said, it's impossible to do those things at the moment, although, probably we're working on it. I'm not saying, but still. So that pretty much the kind of technology is probably been put away for now, and we just don't understand that. It's probably in a military possession, stored somewhere, and when there's time for it to come out, when the time is right, then obviously we can study it again, but not for now. And or at least what I think at the moment, but who knows, maybe they've taken it out already. And there was some talk regarding that military did went and take those UFOs out again to study them. So that's pretty much what I wanted to say. And in case, and yes, there is such a UFO, possibly does exist, an authentic UFO. And that's the interesting part. But again, such technology is simply useless at the moment because we just can't understand it. So we cannot replicate it. So it will take some time before we can catch up to such technology. Even though it's in front of us, we don't have capability of even getting there. And I think there was some attempts to open it up or see how it works, and it actually killed a person. I think the radiation, because he tampered with it, and as Bob Lazar explained, basically said that he was replacing that person who died on the job, that scientist. So that makes sense. And even Betty Hill talks about that there's a lot of radiation going on in that S4 perhaps, and there was some kind of nuclear experiment under the ground there. That supposedly there was some talk about some kind of nuclear disaster that took place at one of those facilities, perhaps S4, because it seems like it's not on a map. And something could have happened there that was just pretty much buried along with the nuclear disaster that supposedly happened there. But I still need to look into this. And so basically that's pretty much that I like to talk about. And yeah, and please stay with me, and I will make more videos if I find something that's interesting to talk about. Basically, I look at a lot of documentaries as far as UFO goes and try to piece clues together that they could have been related. And there's possibility, like I said, Zeta Reticuli is pretty much talked about in all those three situations, but explains a little bit about how those UFOs that Bob Lazar talks about could have been connected with Barny and Betty Hill's story, and the Ivan 0135 channel that connects them all together. And again, just to be cautious, it could have been a hoax, but if you look at the aliens, you can see their arms are extremely thin. Even if you're anorexic, that's difficult to... I mean, there's 3 identical bodies that walk, move like real people. So, but was that story, to look at it from a different angle, was that recreated afterwards, after somebody find out about this story about Barny and Betty Hill? Did this person try to recreate aliens wearing black suits? That is a big question. It's important. So if those 2 people are not related in any way, then they're definitely somebody got a hold of those, or able to put those aliens on tape, and who knows, maybe those UFOs are theirs from those aliens you see on the footage that end up at S4, and where else they would end up but that particular facilities where they studied this kind of technology. So anyways, just so you know, I post videos every 2 days, even every day, sometimes every 3 days. So there's always something new. I always look for some new evidence to go deeper, to try to decode Bob Lazar, although I don't think he's lying at all in any kind of shape or form. But I do look at some different aspects that, like I said, he doesn't have a physical evidence, but you know, he seemed to know a lot about in the field of technology and how this UFO operates. So it gives me some kind of confidence for this story to be true. But again, like I said, you know, there are different questions that come up regarding this story. I mean, it's just a natural thing because it's a very like I said, this whole thing is a very gray area when it comes to UFOs, and there's a lot of fake UFOs or footage that goes around about aliens. So you must understand what's going on here too regarding such things. Anyways, talk too much, but if you stayed all the way up until this point, I would like to thank you very much. Looks like you're interested in this kind of topic, and I can see that. So I thank you for following this video all the way up till now. And if you like, you could subscribe down at the bottom right, and or give it a thumbs up, whatever. I'll appreciate, of course, and that would be great. And I'll see you next time. So please come back and see what's going on, because there's always a new video waiting for you when you come back. Thank you. Peace. And don't forget to comment if you disagree with something or agree with something, so you know we can analyze a little bit what's going on, and also other people can give you some opinions on that as well, and see what they think. You know, and that doesn't necessarily have to be me. You know, having my opinions only, right? So, anyways, don't want to hold you anymore. Appreciate this. Thank you very much. Peace.